Alrighty, so we have Gregor Gillespie versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. This should be a great fight. Carlos, he's been 6-1 in his last 7 fights. He was on a 6 fight win streak and then lost to Beneil Dariush. No shame in that. Beneil Dariush is top notch. Gregor Gillespie, he's had a good UFC career as well. He's 6-1 in the UFC. He's coming off his first loss in his career. And it was a bad one. It was, no hiding it. It was the head kick to Kevin Lee, which will be put on highlight reels forever. It was a very nice head kick, but, good to see him back. And he is coming off a 19-month layoff after that fight. So I think it was good that he took the time off, recover the brain a little bit. And Carlos Diego Ferreira is the bigger guy. He's got a 2-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage. Gregor Gillespie isn't a big 180, 155er. Neither is Carlos, really, but Gregor is quite undersized for the weight class. Alright, so in the stand-up for this one, so Gregor has serviceable stand-up. He's mostly boxing, has a decent jab, pops out the jab. He had a nice jab and match with Kevin Lee before he got knocked out. He does a lot of level change feints the takedown quite a bit. Carlos Diego Ferreira, he likes to be on the front foot. He likes to forward pressure opponents, get inside the pocket, he's got really heavy pressure. And he's mostly boxing as well. He likes the 1-2. Pretty much everything is followed by the jab with Diego Ferreira. He likes to use the jab. He likes to use feints to enforce that forward pressure, to kind of perpetuate the forward pressure and get his opponents continuously moving backwards. He'll also switch stance quite frequently when advancing, just so opponents can't get the read of his strike and entries, but also they can't change levels as easily to shoot onto his hips. Gregor Gillespie has had problems with getting caught with high kicks in the past. Most notable example would be Kevin Lee, but he also got caught by Jason Gonzalez in their fight with a high kick. And, Carlos does throw a high kick every now and then. He will end a combination with a high kick usually, so that's pretty much what Kevin Lee did. He threw a straight right and then ended up with a switch high kick. So that's something, Carlos could definitely throw, or he could just throw the jab high kick or a left hook high kick. Gregor is kind of short in stature, and he just doesn't get the guard up quick enough. Also for Gregor Gillespie, his jab hand drops after he pops out the jab, so, can get caught by right overhands, right straights after that, and then his head doesn't move off center line very often. And what Diego can do is that he's super aggressive, but he can walk onto double legs. It kind of comes with the style that he employs. Like, he's very aggressive. He likes to keep the forward pressure on, and you're gonna walk into takedowns. You're gonna walk into big shots that way. And we saw an example of that in the Beneil Dariush fight, where he just kept walking on the double legs of Beneil Dariush. And I think that's something Gregor looked at and probably is going to look to do in this fight, because Gregor, he did have a very accomplished amateur wrestling career. I think everyone knows his wrestling credentials, very high level. He's relentless with his wrestling attempts. He won't stop on the first attempt. He'll look to chain wrestle. He's got a lot of variations of his single leg finishes. He'll go for a low single in the open, look to drive to the fence, or just cut an angle, just like Khabib does with the really low single. And he also has that nice wrestling ride. And he will look to mat return from there, but mostly it's just looking for control. He will try and take the back sometimes, and yeah, he will look for the finish there, but mostly he's just looking to make you bear his weight. So he's got a great understanding of the transitions in wrestling and the weight distribution, and he knows pretty much where you're going to move because he's pushing you in that certain direction. So he's trying to manipulate your weight, trying to make you move in a certain way so he can just chain the next position and then keep making you bear his weight. For Diego Ferreira, he has really good scrambles though. He's really hard to hold down on the mat. He looks to get butterfly hooks pretty much immediately, look to get you off him in that initial scramble, and also he will look for a leg lock if you're going to stay in his guard or if you're in his half guard. And what he generally looks for to counter the wrestling ride or the body lock position is that Grammy roll, and he does have a really nice Grammy roll. It's very hard to pin down. And once he does get on top, he has very smooth transitions on top. He'll look for submissions. He's very tight on top. But yeah, he's a very high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. So how these guys win fights. So for Diego Ferreira, as I just said, he's a very high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. The forward pressure that he uses breaks opponents, and he has very good cardio, very good volume. I was really impressed with his win against Murbek Taisimov. That was a really impressive performance. That's when he used the forward pressure. I think the best example of his forward pressure and, what he can do with it. For Gregor Gillespie, he has a very strong wrestling ride. It's very hard to get him off you once he does get a Gable grip around your hips and looks to control you from there. And he's very good at, chaining takedowns and going position to position. He also has great grappling cardio, so he's very relentless with his wrestling, and he won't tire out, which is pretty incredible for the amount of takedowns that he goes for. But I guess he's just been doing it his whole life, so, Alright, so pass to victory for these two. Alright, so for Diego Ferreira, look to extend the combinations, mostly down the pipe on the feet because he does move his head. But yeah, I'm looking at like 1-2s, 1-1-2s, 1-2-1s. Don't go crazy with the combinations. Don't go 4 or 5 punch combinations because he will level change if you do extend him that far. But I'm just saying, yeah, he's there to be hit, so you can extend it when you're going down the pipe. Also with the high kicks, as we talked about before, he's had issues defending the high kicks, so yeah, look for that. Look to threaten every takedown with, guillotines. Look to scramble immediately once he does get you down, because he's probably going to get you down. But threaten every takedown with a guillotine or a Kimura trap. Just something, because you're probably not going to be able to stop the takedown, so you might as well threaten with something. But Gregor Gillespie, look for that blast double or the reactive double, because, yeah, he's going to be walking onto it. Beneil Dariush had so much success with that. Stay tight once you do get on top. Stay very tight. Don't posture up. Don't stand up in his guard, because then he will look for the leg locks and be able to get back to the feet. But also, if you're comfortable with your leg lock defense, then you can look to defend the leg lock and then end up in more dominant position. But also, just mostly looking for control. In the clinch or against the fence, you can look for that wrestling ride and then pretty much just wrestling ride bully him from there, because he is hard to hold down on the mat, but you have a really strong wrestling ride. So if you can roll with the grab me rolls and you can keep hold of the wrestling ride, then I think you have a path to victory there. Alright, so how I see the fight going. Alright, so this is a great fight. I had a lot of fun breaking this one down. So on the feet, I believe it's going to be pretty even. I think CDF has the nicer hands, but Gillespie has the ability to change level and disrupt the rhythm at any time. I don't think CDF's going to shoot. But yeah, power and volume are roughly equal. I think the slight edge in power to Gillespie, I think he has a little bit of raw power in him. He seems to have a bit of raw power and seems to hurt people once he does hit them. I'd say CDF will win most of the exchanges because he extends his combinations a little bit more than Gillespie, and I think that's going to allow him to rack up the volume and take all these exchanges on the feet. I don't think Gillespie is chinny or anything by any means, but I think he simply just got caught by a perfectly placed switch kick by Kevin Lee. So I don't think he's chinny or anything like that. I just think he just got caught. Gillespie will decide where the fight plays out. Dude's wrestling is very high level. Ferreira walked onto the double leg of Dariush quite frequently in their fight without too much resistance or submission threat when he did level change. So, I imagine Ferreira's been training off his back quite a bit for this one, because he's got to know he's going to get taken down. Unless Gillespie doesn't go for any takedowns, which I think he will, but I think he's going to shoot, and I think he's going to be able to get Ferreira down, because the guy's wrestling is super high level. And I think Gillespie will have seen the Dariush fight and saw that Dariush did have some nice top control, and, Ferreira is dangerous off his back, but I believe Gillespie will be able to avoid the submissions and secure enough top control and control time, in the wrestling ride, to win the fight. So yeah, let's have a look at the lines and I'll give my prediction. Alright, so I am going to go Gillespie by decision, but I do think this is one of the toughest matchups in the lightweight division that they could have possibly gave him. I think he runs through a lot of the fighters above him, but fighters like Diego Ferreira, Islam Makhachev, I think they give him problems. But I do have to favour him here. I think his wrestling is just so high level. It's not by much though. I think it should be closer than the line is at the moment. I think Diego, anything above $2.40 or plus 140, I think that's a value on Diego, honestly. Because he does have a style that could give Gillespie problems, but I do think Gillespie wins. Just accrues enough top control to win a decision.